All right, welcome, guys. I'm Rob Tatro. This is I'm half, but today it's a third of the running journey. One of the most popular and fastest growing podcasts in the health and wellness space on your podcast provider, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're thrilled to be here. Today we got a special guest. We got Simo on here, Chris Morissette. Chris, welcome. We're pumped to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I have to say that kudos to your show. You guys are doing an amazing job. I don't know how much feedback you get from other people, but I've been enjoying it and enjoying getting to know you guys through the pod. And you guys are doing a great job on here. Amazing content. I hope you keep it going.
Well, he starts with a compliment right off the bat. That's a great way to play. Thank you, Simo. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Simo did an Ironman, a half Ironman in Calgary last week, and Charlie and I have been following it. And we one of the reasons we want to get him on the podcast is because a lot of people say stuff like, I've heard some of our listeners say stuff like, yeah, but you and Charlie are different. You guys are crazies. You guys are not normal people. You guys are blah, blah, blah. And this is not a real experience that I can live. So I love that your story, Chris, that we're going to talk about, which is like, similar to our story. You kind of just pick this up and here you are doing half Ironman in 5 hours and whatever minutes. So I was happy to have you on to talk about that. But before we get to you, Charlie, my brother, how was your weekend?
I had a great weekend. I actually wakeboarded this weekend, first time in 10 years.
Oh man, how fun was that?
Yeah. I got up first time.
Yeah.
So I forgot to mention it. I was supposed to run a race, and I guess I didn't read my emails, or they went to junk or whatever. I didn't realize you couldn't pick up the bib at the race start, and I was on my bike, so I couldn't make the race.
Well, the good news is it was like in downtown Winnipeg or something, or at St. B. It wasn't a long time.
Yeah, it was right close. I didn't have to come back. I just had to bike from Gimli. No big deal.
Charlie drove an hour 20 to Gimli to not run a race. Sorry, I think that's funny. It's not funny, Charlie. I'm sorry that you did that. It's a little bit on you though, but you did do a workout when you were. So what? You had your bike with you?
Yeah. So it's a point-to-point race. You start in Winnipeg Beach.
You were going to leave your car at one spot or whatever.
I was going to leave my car in Gimli and just bike to the start, and then do the race and then drive back, pick up my bike on the way back. But so that was the plan. And the funny thing is I could have just picked up my bib in Gimli that morning. But I didn't know. I didn't read any of the emails. Because in previous years, so this is the second time I've run this race. The last time I ran this race, all the bibs were right at the start line. So I just assumed it'd be the same.
So once you got
I pulled a Rob.
What's a Rob? I want to hear what this is.
Just don't worry about the details and just show up and hope things work out.
Well, but they usually do. I've said on this podcast before, who picks up a bib before the morning? You just show up and they always let you race. I've said that before many times. Yeah. And now
no, they would have. So yeah, whatever. It's fine.
No. Finish your statement. Finish your statement. They would have let you run had you pushed hard and booted a little bit, probably.
No, how would they have let me run?
I don't know. I thought you were going to say that.
Logistically, it was impossible because of just the way it was.
Right. Could you have driven back to the start with your bike, got a bib, driven back? Oh, you wouldn't have time.
Yeah, I didn't have time to do that.
Okay. Anyways, so then when I see Charlie, so we were at the cottage. We were at Uncle Mo's cottage, and Simo's sitting there. He's like, when do I get to talk about my race? I promise, Simo, it's coming. But I just want to introduce this. We were at Uncle Mo's cottage, and Uncle Mo, son George, Uncle Mo and Aunt Sue came with me to do Run with Rob in New Brunswick, my mom's brother, and such a chill guy. And that's Aunt Sue, they're so chill. August long, we try to go visit them, and they were the ones who suggest a couple stories I want to tell. You have to tell, or I have to tell the Claude story. My dad, my 72-year-old father. So Charlie and I are sitting on the boat. I'll tell it. And we're sitting there on the boat, and we had just wakeboarded. And I just looked at Charlie, and I was like, that was the most fun thing I think I've ever done in my life. Like wakeboarded, and it was such a rush, and like there's no real experience like that. Skiing maybe, but it's like it's the board, it's the lake. You're trying to do tricks, you're trying to turn, you're trying to just survive. So fun. And he goes, "Yeah, so fun, so fun." We're like, we should get Claude to do it. My dad somehow like water ski. He hasn't water skied in, I don't know, 15 years, 10 years. I really don't know, but he was good when he was young. So I said, how are we going to do this? So I devised a strategy in my head. when we got back to the shore, I tell my dad, "Hey, when's the last time you ever got up on water skis, like without falling? Like how old were you?" And he's like, "Oh, what do you mean? I could get up today if I wanted to." I was like, "Well, no, you couldn't. Like, there's no way, Dad. You're 72. You haven't." So this whole argument, this fake argument of me convincing my dad that he can't do something, so that, "Oh, how much? Make it interesting, and I'll bet you that I can." And anyways, half an hour later, my dad's water skiing at 72 years old. It was so cool to see. And then afterwards, he's just sitting next to me, like, "This is the greatest day. I've had so much fun today." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I water skied today." And I was like, "Yeah, you did. Awesome." I was pumped. So like we had fun just wakeboarding, and he had a blast water.
Yeah. So I asked my kid about how, like, so my kid saw me wakeboarding, and I asked him, like, did it look pretty cool? He's like, "Yeah, it was okay, but Papa or Dad, that he was the best because he was the only one who did it with two skis." So he thought my dad was the best.
Cool.
Was he sore?
Oh, I'm sure he was. Claude, my dad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you don't water ski if you don't do it often. It's like the worst sport ever. You're like, how can I not do this longer? How come I can only do a minute on these skis or whatever? Yeah. And remember when we were young, Charlie? We used to go to Detroit Lakes or Bemidji all day. We used to wake our parents up at 6 a.m. the moment there was sunlight out, and all day on the lake. Once a year, we would water ski all day. And we would argue about who was next, and my parents would argue about who's driving the whatever. It was.
Remember the time I skied over your head?
Yeah. There's so many water ski stories actually that we have. We remember when the rope got caught in the prop, and we spent all day in the middle of the lake with my mom trying to take the rope
all day.
Well, it felt like all day because we were waiting for a ride.
Yeah, it was probably like 3 minutes.
But like, remember when my parents couldn't like afford a really good boat, so they would rent the fishing boat, which was cheaper, and it was like a 28 horsepower or 24 horsepower or something like that, and we would water ski off the back of a fishing boat. Anyways, it was fun memories. But my Uncle Mo, not related to Simo, came with me, is never run in his life. I'm giving you a shout out, Uncle Mo, because it's impressive what you're doing. Are you following him on Strava? He's doing 50-kilometer weeks. He has never run in his life. The first time he ran ever as a 65-year-old ever in his life was with me and Run with Rob. He would run like 100 yards with me at the aid stations. He'd go, "Oh, Rob, you're doing great." He'd pat me on the back, and he'd hold my water, and he'd give me a gel, and he'd go like a few seconds. And then he started doing it between, and then he'd do like half a kilometer, and then he'd do a kilometer, a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. He did a 10K this week. He did a 10K. The guy's 65 years old. I'm so proud of him. And I'm so pumped myself, Charlie, that I was part of that inspiration. He's like, "Dude, you inspired me. You ran across a province." So I want to give a shout out to Uncle Mo right now, because I'm thoroughly impressed with what you're doing at 65 years old, Uncle Mo. He says his gout's gonna go away, his knee pain's gone, he's feeling happier, he's lost a bunch of weight. I mean, I don't want to say Captain Obvious here, but like that's obvious that those results are happening. But I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Uncle Mo. Quick, I dreamt last night. Simo, did you ever play senior hockey?
No.
You played hockey though, probably.
Yeah, I played lots of hockey. It's my my first and number one passion. But I'm from the city, so unless you're like a ex-pro, you're an import. So it wasn't.
Yeah. I thought for some reason you were from the country.
No, my family's from St. Pierre. So my dad grew up in St. Pierre, and I've got a bunch of family out there. Like my Mehmet and Pipette are from St. Pierre and all that. So,
was your dad a goalie by chance?
No, but my uncle Leon was a goalie.
Yeah. My dad always talks about that Marissette that was a goalie from St. Pierre. So
lots of legendary stories. Yeah.
So
I hope you didn't have to play against my Uncle Ray.
I'm sure he did.
Probably, yeah.
So we're like 5 minutes in, and we're like trying to connect who we know.
This is the game. This is the French community game. Yeah, I can't talk to anyone in the French community without playing this game. Yeah. But so I mean, I don't want to say I like you less now that I know you're not from the country, but I always had this feeling that you were from the country. And we don't really know Simo, right, Charlie? Like, when did we meet Chris? Like, we met him
just at Birds Hill.
Birds Hill, 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
So but you know her cousin though, right?
Calls.
Calls, yeah.
Okay.
So the story is I bumped into
The quote
Cass
is, "He's
at
a
that race.
beauty."
Yeah.
He's a beauty.
Yeah, I
He's
love
a
that
beauty.
guy.
Yeah. Well, Calls is as
Him
good
and
as it
I
gets.
get along really well.
Yeah, Calls was at my wedding party. Like I probably the funniest person I know on the planet, I would argue.
He's the best.
Yeah, the best storyteller I know, and the funniest guy, and the guy you want around, just the guy you want to be around all the time, because he just makes everyone happier and more fun.
100%.
So you're buddies with Calls, I'm buddies with Calls, and then obviously he's our cousin. And Cass was mentioning you were in a race, and then I saw you. I went out, I congratulated you. I don't even know. How did you start listening to the podcast? I sent it to you. Cass sent it to you.
No, I think you mentioned at the time. I don't know. It was. We ended up chatting for about 5 minutes, and
Okay.
I think you mentioned it, and I think literally that night, or maybe even on the way home, we started listening to it, and me and my wife kind of got into it a little bit. So
cool. So yeah, you were telling your wife.
And then I made a comment, and then you guys mentioned me or whatever, and yeah, so way we go.
Okay, so let's start with this race that you just did first off, and then there's what, 3 Ironmans in Canada. There's Mont Tremblant, which is a full. There's what is it called? BC Penticton, whatever. Yes. It's a full. And then is this the only 70.3? And there's Ottawa coming up next year.
Ottawa's a full Ironman, and I think it's replacing Penticton. Penticton's the last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a 70.3, the same distance that Charlie did in Hecla.
There's Victoria too.
Victoria. Okay.
Yeah.
So we followed you closely, but why don't I just start with this open-ended question? How did it go?
Yeah, I think it went well. I'm not sure where to start. It's just I got there nice and early. Did you want me to do like the full breakdown of everything?
Why don't I before that I want to ask you about your background, because people that are watching this might think, oh, Chris is an elite athlete, and and maybe you are, I don't know. But from what I remember from you, you recently got into this, right? You recently decided you'd get in shape and start running and jogging and biking, right?
Yeah.
When did that start?
That's basically it. I mean, we can go quite a ways back, which is probably a whole other story. But I mean, as of recent, I would say I've been in pretty decent shape, but I was just working out just to and staying in shape just to stay in shape, just to be ready for whatever, just making sure I'm not out of shape for hockey, or if I want to go hiking, I'm in shape to tackle a big hike, or just be ready for whatever. And I was kind of missing something. There's just was something that just I wasn't working towards anything. It was just kind of enjoying the process of working out. And
that's pretty good too, though. That's something to be said about doing that.
Yeah,
because sometimes you get so caught up in these big races, you forget to just enjoy it.
So So I was on a buddy of mine mentioned that he did a sprint triathlon out in Riding Mountain, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Didn't really think much of it, and went on this backcountry hiking trip with my cousins and some buddies out in Banff, and we were just talking. My cousin did a couple, and he's we kind of came up, and I was like, oh yeah, my buddy just mentioned it, and he said you'd really like it. And he's like, yeah, you should do one. He goes, you would really like it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've swam before, I grew up swimming a little bit, but I've never done laps in a pool or anything like that. I love bike riding, but I don't even own a road bike. He's like, well, I got one for you. So I was just like, okay, well, kind of ended there. And
how long ago was that?
This was September.
Yeah, less than a year ago.
Yeah. So so we we flew in and out of Calgary. I grabbed had a buddy deliver my bike to Winnipeg. He was traveling to Winnipeg, so this bike that my cousin had, he's my height, so I just assumed it would fit. And this is the one that I've been using. He sold it to me for $500. He goes, I'm not using it anymore. So I'm like, I'll take it. Had no idea, right? So took it home, and then I'm like, hey, well, I got a bike, and guess I gotta start looking up what these triathlons are all about. I had literally no idea.
Had you decided on that you were going to do a triathlon or a sprint or like?
No, I just like, I got this bike and I've never ridden a road bike before. I've always ridden mountain bikes or whatever bikes I had. Like I just had no experience on a road bike and I've always been kind of curious. And so once I got home, I think I got on YouTube and I just started like searching triathlons and I stumbled upon, have you guys heard of Lionel Sanders?
Yeah.
He's a Canadian professional triathlete and he does like all these 70.3s and like all over the world, like pro circuit. And there was this video, it was like day in the life of Lionel Sanders or 48 hours of Lionel Sanders. And I was just like my eyes just like, and I was just like, after I watched that video, I'm like, this is what I want to do. It was like,
oh, really?
Most immediate, like no questions asked. And I just like started going down the rabbit hole and just, started learning, started taking notes. And and then like, I have so many questions now. Like now I'm going to do this. I got a bike. What do I need? So then I started looking up all this stuff. What do I need? And, bike trainers and bike shoes and all this stuff. And like, I've never in my life, like wanted to buy stuff so bad. Like I was just like, I bought the bike trainer, like no buyer's remorse. I was buying all this stuff, like just kind of getting ready. And like I've been doing kind of a little bit of running at this point, but like I didn't know anything about running. Like every time I went for a run, it was like I'd go for 5K and blow the doors off.
Yeah, balls to the wall.
Well, yeah. And then like that's all like, and then I would need like 3 days to recover because I was like so thrashed, and I thought that was far. And I was like, well,
it is far when you're going all out.
It is, yeah. And I would get nervous before everyone, and like I was running in like whatever shoes I bought from the Nike, outlet mall or whatever. Like I had no idea. And
hey, Simo, why do you think you had no buyer's remorse, and why do you think you immediately plugged into that idea so quickly?
I think because this like 48 hours day in the life of Lionel Sanders, it was like, it was his training days. It was like his early mornings, his getting ready, like his like, his nutrition. It was like so detailed. Like there was just like, it was showing his heart rate. It was showing his Garmin stat. It was showing all this stuff. And I was just like, I love the process. Like the process is the most fun for me. Like the race is the race, but I love the lead up. I love getting ready. I love thinking about it. And I love learning. And like, I was just like, it was just giving me all this detail. And I was just like, this is so cool. I just like, there was something about it that, maybe I wanted to be part of that in some way or form. So yeah, I kind of got caught up in it pretty quick.
From what I hear, pro triathletes are probably spend the most amount of time training of any sport. Like, I don't know of all sports, but like one of like more than running, more than biking, more than any of the individual sports. Yeah. So it's a tough job to be a pro triathlete.
Oh yeah, like these guys are like waking up. They're like trying to beat the heat. They're doing like crazy track workouts or long runs, and then they're going and they're on the bike trainer for 3 or 4 hours, and then they're going out and they're swimming for 2 hours, and it's like every day, 7 days a week almost, it seems.
Remember when Tyler was talking to us about his schedule, like 30, 35 hours a week, and
it would suck, but it would also kind of be awesome too.
I don't know if it would suck. You think it would suck?
It would be hard, but I think it would be very enjoyable.
Dude, would you trade your life right now?
Absolutely.
Forget about money.
If I could train 40 hours a week, and
I would too. I would try it at least. And I think I'd be very happy. And I think I'd be on TV here trying to get an Olympic medal. No, I'm kidding.
There's always the over 70 category you can work towards.
So I'm going to watch that video, Simo. But I think, Simo, did you think I want to do this? This is what I want to do? Or were you just like, I want a glimpse of this?
No, I knew, like, I feel like I could be telling myself a story right now because it's already a little while ago. But like, I feel like that was pretty immediate. Like I remember from then on, like I was waking up at like 5:30, 5 in the morning, like run downstairs like a kid, like pulling up YouTube on the TV and just like taking notes. And then that's when I started like going for my runs and like started the process. Like, I remember
out of the 3 disciplines,
yeah.
which one do you like? Which one is like maybe from the one that takes the least amount of motivation to do versus the one that takes the most amount of, like, what do you have rankings of those?
Like it kind
as far as doing the workouts, like, I mean, in a, for me, okay, so for me,
let's do your ranking, then I'll do
for
mine.
me. Running it takes the least amount of motivation. It's simple. I wake up and I go, and then it's surprisingly, like, I don't know, and then it's biking, and then it's swimming, and it changes. So that's what it is right now, but it changes from week to week. But I don't know. That's just my. I don't know, Rob. What
same. So for me to do an outdoor run, I would almost like pay to be able to do it, right? I would, like, if someone told me you have to pay to do your run today, how much are you willing to pay? I would pay an amount, $50, $100 to be allowed to do my run. Like, that's how I actually feel. That might sound crazy to some, but like, that's how I feel about my run.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's probably a lot more than that. Like, that I would pay to be able to do my tempos and whatever. The biking, when I was training for Ironman, it was like, I looked forward to it, but it was hard. And I'm not sure I would have paid. I wouldn't have skipped it, but it was hard to do those 5.5 hour bikes. The swim, I would pay not to do it. Yeah, the swim I would pay to avoid. I would pay to avoid it. And I've said that before on the podcast. Although I've also said, man, the day after a swim, like the after you do a morning swim, you feel invincible that day. You feel like you can get anything done and you've accomplished something. And maybe it's because I hate it so much that overcoming it is like a reward, like a bit of a dopamine hit, right? So anyways, you go, Simo, for yours. They're probably similar, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. It flip-flops. Like, now I'm at a point where, like, I can wake up and like stretch a little bit, put on my shoes and go. Like, it's not really a problem for running. But like, another, like a bit of a long-winded answer, like early before I started like logging my runs and kind of started my training, I discovered the zone 2 training, which allowed me to enjoy my runs a little bit more. And like, that discovery, like, I'm so thankful that I figured that out early, and like, I still am learning about it. But that allowed me to enjoy.
Simo, like, we all had the same discoveries. This morning or yesterday morning, I had a bit of a tempo run, and I'm like, if I had to do this every day, I would have quit running a long time ago, because it was. But at the same time, when you don't do them as much, you also look forward to them as being a change up. So it's to me, it's a big thing.
So when those guys are doing that, when I was doing a zone 5, my 5K, like you were, or my 3K or my 2K, like that, those are like the hardest workouts I would ever do now. Harder, because I was probably way out of shape and it was way tougher on me physically, and yet I was doing them every jog. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like I was putting myself in a body bag trying to finish up these 5Ks. Like, it was just silly. Like, and like, I would feel good after. Like, I'm like, that was awesome. It was fun. But it's not even that long of a run now that you think about it. It's nothing. But at the time,
it still is a long run for anyone who's listening right now.
Right.
Like, these guys think it's easy to do a 5K, but like, we know how hard it is, don't we? We all know how hard it is.
Oh, for sure. And it wasn't even that long ago, my wife was dragging me out to try to do a 2-mile run, and like it was bad. Like, I hated it, so
define zone 2 for listeners who don't know.
So it's my understanding, like, I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 different ways to calculate it, but
just ballpark what it means for you.
Yeah. So basically, it's, you want to be able to speak in sentences, not paragraphs, when you're running. Basically, just running at a comfortable pace where you can have a conversation with someone. For me, I have identified that it's probably around the 135 beats per minute. Like, if I'm in that range, for me, like, I think that's probably my zone 2. I really want to get tested, because like if I'm going to spend this much time doing it, I really want to know what that is. But zone 2, like for me, just like really initially helped me like you should see my pace when I first started. Like it was so slow in zone 2. I'm like, this is crazy. Like 11 minutes per mile for like.
Yeah. Were you walking some of that to just to stay
No,
in?
no, I wasn't walking. Maybe I should have been, but it was slow, right? And then I started logging everything, and like, over time, that pace just got faster and faster. Like, so like November went by and like it got a little bit faster. I was like, okay. And that's all I did November, December, January. It was zone 2 only. I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit better, a little bit better. And then like by the time January came around, I went out and did my first like threshold tempo 5K. And I was like, what is this? Like I shattered my previous numbers. Like it was like not even close.
You did no speed training, to be clear.
No, and it was like
you just built your zone 2, your long term.
Yeah. So like basically I had to run slower to run faster, which like just took me so long to wrap my head around it. But I'm just so glad I was able to figure that out. So I hope I'm making sense about all this. Kind of.
Yeah, man. We like, I mean, Charlie might disagree, but I mean, I don't even know what zone 2 is. I don't think it is. I think it's like a pace I can go forever, I think.
Like, like Simo said, people have different definitions, and it's not really a thing that's clearly defined. So I'm more of a feel. Like I do take a lot of data and stuff, and I'm more of a feel. But to me, it's like a feel where if I do this every day, I'm not going to feel tired, type of thing. And it's probably higher than 135. I can probably go up to 145.
Yeah.
I think I just have a bit of a higher heart rate than most people in general. When I look at like when I compare my races to other people or whatever. But I'm okay with it as long as I know I can recover from it, and I know it's like it doesn't feel like a chore, either.
Yeah, and I think for people that are just starting out, I think it's just super important to like to build that foundation and to start running injury free. Like a lot of people start running, they'll start doing 3, 4, 5 times, and then they'll get injured right away because they're just going out too hard or whatever, and it just gets like those ligaments, those muscle fibers, those like all those little things in your body, like your hip flexors, everything just kind of ready for it. And
it's not just that too, Simo. It's also the fact that if you're doing max effort jogs for 5K 4 times a week, you don't really want to get up every time, and maybe you stop doing it. Maybe you pull the chute and you're like, I'll skip this one, and the next thing you know, you're back on the couch. Right.
But also like it's like exponential how higher your injury risk goes. Like I think that's a very, very good point too.
And like how are you going to do that and run 10 miles like off the hop or whatever, right? Like you just can't. So I think
and like you said, like I've experienced this to a lesser degree because I think maybe but you run all these miles and none of them are hard, and then you get to like I was saying when I did my PR for my first PR on my half marathon, I ran a 127. In my lead up to that, I did about a total of 5K at that pace or faster in the entire lead up. And like I was running my tempo. I was running my tempo as if I was like in my head, I thought I was going to be like a 133, 135 something. In my training, and then I got to the day and I could do a 127 all of a sudden, right? And it's like, so you don't notice that you're building up that base, and that happens only if you do a lot of miles at a slower pace, like
more miles, less pace, more miles, less pace.
Like I hear you guys talk about that. Like for you, like what's your you need to go slower. Like if you're going to go slow, what does that look like for you guys?
Pace wise,
my
easy miles now are 8:05.
Yeah,
that's what he's got.
See, I'm more like 9, 8:30 to 9. I like, and my heart rate's still pretty high. So it depends. Like in the summer, it's a bit slower because it's hot. And but I just go by feel. Like my coach gives me a range, 8 to 9 basically, so whatever I feel in that range.
Yeah.
But Simo, to be clear, when I did all my miles in the UK and I was just jogging because I wanted to jog and I wasn't looking at my watch, I did 9-minute miles, nine and a half minute miles.
Yeah, it's enjoyable, and I think it's like I think it's just a really good way for people to learn long distance. I mean, you can go out and get lost in your thoughts, you know, like there's a lot of growth in that. You go out, like if you're doing it 5 days a week, I mean, that's a lot of time alone. And I mean, sometimes I wear my headphones, but sometimes I like going without and just gives you time to think about everything and appreciate everything. Like it's pretty awesome that you get to go out and do that every day, I think.
Yeah. So I had an experience like that, Stemo, too, one time where I had been really listening to the headphones continuously for like a month. And one day my headphones just were not charged or something. And I just did like a 5K and I came back and I was like ecstatic. I told my wife, like,
Yeah,
it was like early in the morning and there was like no sound. You could hear like the nature. And yeah, I don't know. It was amazing actually to once in a while to just have these no headphone runs. Love those.
If I'm running outside, I'm pretty much always going no headphones, just because there's just so much to do and think, and it gives you that time.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can listen to too. Like it just kind of gets like.
Well, listen to us while you run.
Yeah,
the
definitely,
running
definitely. But even then, when I'm running, I'm like, on my mind, I'm just I kind of zone out a little bit, and yeah, so a lot of growth.
I had a jog this morning, Charlie. I had a jog this morning, and I pulled a Charlie. There's a lot of things that are pulling a Charlie, including like not getting your race bib on morning and whatever. But this was a Charlie in that I went out Lyndale Drive this morning, and I was just kind of like, wow, taking it all in, and all this, like I had to come back home, and I jogged like 12 minutes too much or whatever. Like I was way too far out and I had to come back. That's pulling a Charlie except you did in New York. What did you do? Like an extra 7 miles or something?
Well, it was the day before the New York Marathon. I was planning on doing like 3 miles and I did 6.5.
Yeah, that's
well
awesome.
worth it. Well worth it though.
Yeah, you got to, right? You got to.
Yeah.
So anyway, Seymour, you're saying how that got. I know we're tangenting here all over the place.
No, it's good.
This is what I like to chat about. So now you're doing more miles, less pace. It's like October or November. You finally do your first threshold, and you kind of kill it.
Yeah, I felt unbelievable on that threshold run. I was like, this is kind of like, what I've been waiting for. Like all that patience kind of paid off. Like I kept reading that you just have to be patient. It'll come. So that threshold run, I think it was like a 5K, and then I did a 10K like a few days later, and it was great. And then I just kept building that foundation. And like I'm just excited to like what that looks like in a year from now or 2 years from now. I mean, like all this learning, like it's just, I feel like I'm scratching the surface with what I'm learning. Like it's just so much fun to like see this all come together a little bit. So
threshold, Charlie. The reason I mention this is Charlie's like, who doesn't understand threshold? We have a lot of listeners that are like, not like, I didn't know what threshold was when I started running. So Simo, you want to explain threshold real quick? Or
I don't even know if I really understand it all that well, but I guess my best understanding, it's like what pace you can hold for an hour, basically. Would that be your threshold?
Yeah, that's the main definition. And then
your lactic threshold. Yeah.
To me, that's kind of like a substitute for kind of whatever pace you're at, where you're stable, right? You're at the edge of not being stable, where your heart rate will start rising, but but you can hold it, right? So you're basically all your metabolic indicators stay stable. And if you go above that, then you get into a deficit which you can't sustain.
The dreaded HR drift.
Yeah. And apparently the zone 2 training helps a ton with that HR drifts. But it doesn't take months. It's not even years. It takes, several years to like get to a point where as you know, now you're at a point where you've come a long way too, both of you guys, with your running.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it's like you can keep building it like 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
it takes forever. Like, that's why. Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
that's what's
VO2 max, which is one thing, and then there's that aerobic endurance, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
then you did this, and then you're like, all right. So when did you sign up for a race? How did you progress from there?
Yeah, so I guess from there I'm not sure which race I signed up for first or how that all went, but like I knew. Oh yeah, and then that hypothermic half marathon came up. I was pretty excited about running, so I did that.
We were there. We were there.
Yeah. I later found out that you guys are there and you're wearing that, like,
The dead animal on my head.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm like, well, like this is pretty awesome too. So then like the whole running thing like really started to come together for me, like in terms.
That was
of
your first run, like your first race?
That was my first race, yeah.
The hypothermic half in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was good conditions for a race.
Great conditions for a race.
And like running in the winter, like we were running in all winter, like it's like, you got to do it. So
ice everywhere. How'd you do in that race?
Wild. It was taxing, that ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, for that race, first half, I was following other people and kind of going the safe route, and then the second half, I realized that just going straight is probably your best chance of not wiping out and going at the same pace. So I just went straight. With second half was much better, and I was going a lot faster.
Yeah, like turning your foot while going. We were doing what, 640s that day for the second half, Charlie? Something like that. I could be wrong.
650s.
650s. So like turning your foot mid stride on a 650 mile pace, you can't do it. As I learned the hard way, I wiped out hard, and Charlie just left me there and bolted for the finish line. No, I told him.
He'll
told
survive.
him, don't go on without me. Yeah. Go on without me. Yeah. But we had a 20-mile run that day, and we did, right, Charlie? 20-mile run, if I recall.
I think it was 22.
22 miles.
20 or 22. It was a long.
We did like 9 before the race, and then we did the marathon. The half marathon was like supposed to be a part of our fast finish or whatever. Mm-hmm. So how did you do? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. Like that was kind of the start of my passion or my obsession with running. Like I just kind of was like, okay, well, I want to do more of those. I knew that right away. So then I started looking into the marathon and, the police half and all that kind of stuff. And then I started looking into, which triathlons I wanted to do and plan out my summer. I was just going to do the half marathon. And then I was just like, why? Like, why do the half? Like, what's like, you're already there. Like, just do the full. So, just signed up for that. And then I signed up, for St. Malo and Birds Hill. And like, I didn't even really know how that all worked, like still, right? Like I'm still kind of in the middle of all my research and trying to figure things out and acquiring all these, like all this overhead. Like I was buying so much stuff. Like I spent so much money on just gear and like shoes, training stuff, and like just having fun with it at that point. So
there's a lot of stuff with triathlon. There's I think you it's an like being organized is part of that sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the disciplines for sure. So then what's that?
No, I was gonna say you pulled a Rob. You just signed up for a bunch of stuff, not knowing what you're doing, not knowing what you're getting into, and I'll figure the rest out later.
100%
signing up for this race.
I was all in. I was doing, and then people were like, maybe you should just like do the sprint and like see if you like it. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going for like, this is happening. I'm going Olympics. So,
love that.
And then the riding mountain, I was really like, that was going to be like I was really looking forward to that one because I heard good things about it. And then when it switched to the duathlon, I don't know, for whatever reason at the time I got really bummed about it. And that was kind of like the reason why I signed up for Calgary. Cause I wanted to have like I don't know. I just wanted to have like some, like a big race at the end of the year that I was looking forward to. And that one just kind of jumped off the page to me. And I was just like, I'm going to do this one. So, and again, against other people's advice, I was like, no, I'm just going to do that one. Yeah.
When did you sign up for Calgary?
That's awesome.
I'm not sure when it was. It was a little later. It might have been in March or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
you're training for the marathon, you're training for these Olympics, and then you have this half Ironman in the distance.
yeah.
So you were following a plan, or do you have a coach, or were you just doing this on your own?
No, I was just doing it on my own. I kind of started with a spreadsheet and then kind of abandoned that pretty quick because it just like I would notice I'd get through my week and I'd be like, well, this isn't going to work. And I just kind of ended up, I knew that I had to do like X amount of bikes, X amount of runs. And, you're trying to mix it in with your weight training and your playing hockey and life and all this stuff. I just found it really hard to follow like a set spreadsheet. So I just kind of abandoned that and just kind of did my own thing.
Okay, so I need to ask you this, and Charlie, you've probably done this. I've never trained without a coach, really. Like I don't really remember how I did it at first. I think I would just go out for jogs. But like, do you find it hard to stay disciplined to like, don't you build your own program, or do you week by week, weekly? So like Sunday, you'll build your program for the week.
For me,
yeah. And then I want to ask Charlie how he did it without his coach.
Yeah, like for me, it just like the spreadsheet just wasn't working for me. Like I was abandoning it so fast that like come Sunday or Monday, I knew pretty much like what I had to do that week. And I just did it. It was just in my head. I just didn't really.
So that's another level of discipline. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to write it down.
Like
So I was logging it. I have my logbook. I was logging everything, and it's just like it does a really good job of showing you that you're not doing it like visually, right?
Yeah.
So you look at it, you're like, oh geez, like I actually only did 2 of those that week. Like that's not good. Next week I got to do it.
So to answer your question though, Rob, like when I used to train, like when I used to not have a coach and I built my own training plans, I really enjoyed it. And I would go like backwards from whatever race I was doing. And I'd have the whole plan. And then I would, depending on what happened in my life, I would switch things around if I had to. But I really liked having that plan ahead of time, and so I'm a little different. Yeah,
in the same way that when I see you in action, Charlie, at the running group, the Run with Rob Run Club, when someone asks you, oh, I'm running in 6 weeks, what should I do, Charlie? And I just see you flick the switch and go, okay, 2 weeks out, you're going to do this. 3 weeks out, you're going to do this. I want you to do, like, you just immediately have it built in your head right away. And now, like, I know I could do that. Like I know how I would do it. I'd build some tempos, and because I've done enough of these. But there's something to be said about just like I prefer trusting a professional and then not having the burden of dealing with the decision making of that. Like I prefer not having the burden of the decision making. While you like at some level you're good at it, Charlie, and you enjoyed it at some level.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm on the same boat, but now it's more of I will give like. If some things I think should like it's more of a partnership. I feel like my coach gives me all my workouts, but I will try to give him some feedback if I think, okay, I can handle more running, or this has never happened, I can handle less running. But I would give him feedback like that. But the biking, like I was really tired from biking the last couple of weeks, and I told my coach, so then he reduced it, right? So it's a give and take thing where
well, you've been biking like crazy.
Yeah. So if I'd be doing it myself, I would just make those changes myself. So it's kind of nice to have the coach to say, to kind of, okay, do I really need to reduce now, or should I increase, to have a second opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing it all yourself, Simo?
Yeah. I'm a little stubborn.
Yeah.
That's great discipline. Congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks.
So,
okay, but to me, the discipline part, Rob, like the discipline part for me is doing it alone. I'd be just as disciplined, I think. Like I don't think it would.
Well, I mean, I agree with that myself. I'm just saying I prefer not having the burden of having to discipline. I prefer just having not to think I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to do what's on my
and like I'm probably not doing it the right way. I mean, it's probably not the best way to go about it, but I'm learning, and we'll see what happens in the future with coaches.
Dude, you're doing unreal. So I'm not.
Yeah. So let's talk about your half Ironman. Like your half
wait.
Ironman was awesome.
Wait. I do want to hear the rest of it. If we have,
Sorry, I have to go at 4, Rob, but we can.
Okay, we can bring
going.
Simo back another time if we have.
Yeah.
Like he's not a stranger to the show. I kind of like the story of his build, if that's all right.
Yeah, it's like another person's journey, which is
really another person's journey, which is cool, and it's slightly different than ours, but it's actually very, very, very similar than ours.
You guys remind me like so much of myself. It's insane. Yeah.
Take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
So now you've decided you're doing the races. I just want to hear about this, if that's right. I know you have to leave at 4, Charlie, but okay. So now you've decided you're doing these races. So you've signed up for them. I saw you at Birds Hill. I don't remember what you did, but you did awesome. I think you beat me. I'm pretty sure.
No, you passed me on the run. I remember.
Okay, I passed you on the run. Okay.
Yeah, 39 minute run.
I'll remember those footsteps.
Oh yeah. You're like, oh, loud shoes. I was wearing my yeah. That was my best 10K of my life.
Yeah, and then I was like, I'm gonna pass this guy. I'm gonna catch up to him. No, that wasn't happening.
And then you passed me again in St. Malo, and I barely passed you on the run there.
That run was a struggle. Hey,
that was a struggle for me too.
I think everyone had a hard time with that one.
Well, we all ran the marathon 5 days before too. Like that's
a
probably
good I guess maybe that was a fact.
That was a tough marathon for pacing.
I didn't run, I felt like
I could do that marathon too. That's a whole other thing.
How'd you do at that marathon? Didn't you do an unreal time, like 3:30 or something?
3:35.
That's unreal. That was your first marathon?
Remember at Birds Hill, I said he can do 3:30. It was hot. Normal conditions, you would have done 3:30.
I don't know. I blew up at mile 20. Like it was. We're going off the rails here, but this is fun talking about it. Like
blew up, but I mean, you did a 3:35.
No, she didn't blow up that much.
Well, my pace went down fast.
Like almost every single running.
You guys were talking about the Grim Reaper, that the pace bunny coming by, and the 3:35 pace bunny came by with like 2 minutes or 2 miles left in the race, and I was just like, this thing is just like he's like passing me so slow, and I'm like, I cannot, like I had nothing. I don't even think I bonked. I just think my legs were just like toast.
That was your first ever marathon, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I have a theory on first ever marathons. It's nobody can kind of avoid that. I just say nobody.
How they go.
It's just how they go. Those first marathons. It's just part of the thing.
So my first marathon, I did 1:44.
Probably not one for in the first
1:44 in the first half.
Yeah,
and 2 hours in the second half. Basically,
I did 1:43, 2:16.
You probably wanted to negative split, but it just didn't happen.
Oh, it's not possible for your first one, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to come out slow, and I think I did, just like based on all like the race calculators and the predictors, like, you know, like go at this pace, which is like, you know, 20 seconds or 30 seconds slower than your half marathon pace. So do that and you should be fine. And it, like mile 20, I was like, can't sustain this anymore. Like it happened fast.
Yeah. You're cruising. You're like, I think I might be able to push the last 6 miles or 8 miles. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't even keep this pace.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll keep this pace.
My buddy has the funniest story. He's just like, yeah, mile 19, I'm doing this every year. This is the best. Mile 20, oh boy.
Yeah. Mile 21, why am I doing this? Yeah. Okay, so then you did that. You did a really good time at the Manitoba Marathon. You did all these races, and then you're dialed in. You're training for. I'm curious about your training. I think what we'll have to do, Charlie, I know you have to run. Why don't we finish his journey today, and we'll do another episode of him to talk about his race. It'll be a brief episode, but we'll bring Simo on again, if that's all right.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
we make shit up on the fly here. That's how we operate. I do want to hear about your unreal. So I'll tell the viewers quickly so they can kind of get ready for the next episode. But you finished your race in 5 hours, and I have it right here, 21 minutes, which is an unreal half Ironman time, because that would, like, I know for a fact I could not have done that time for my first half Ironman. So congrats on that. We'll get to that later, but now you're training for this race. So you're what are you doing training? I'm curious how different that was compared to what Charlie and I did.
So yeah, like I was just making sure that I was getting in my runs. So like I was doing roughly 30, I think it was like 35, 40 miles a week, long runs on Sundays, and basically checking the weather and picking those days for my early morning bike rides out on Henderson Highway, going up to Lockport and all that. My rides, yeah, I think I got in a 100K ride. I got in a 90K on the virtual trainer, which was terrible. So I'm just really happy. Like, we've had some pretty decent weather to be able to ride outside. It's just way different riding outside and having that wind in your face. But yeah, so like nothing really changed. And I was in the pool 2 or 3 times a week. So
Wow.
yeah, Mondays and Wednesday evenings at 8, they have that triathlon swim for triathlon.
Didn't even know. Where is that?
It's at Pan Am.
At Mondays and
8 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays.
It's perfect time for me.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. It's for an hour, and there's a coach there that puts you through the paces. I've learned so much. Like the whole.
And who runs this swim?
His name's Chris. I forget what his last name is, but he's really good.
But is it associated with Triathlon Manitoba or something? Or
yeah.
Oh, that's.
I should go to that.
Yeah, no, they're.
I
great.
need to learn how to swim.
I've never heard of this. Like, it's crazy. I'm the provincial champion, and like I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, a buddy told me about it, so I started going to that, and then Friday mornings, the lap pool's open at Pan Am, so I've been going Friday mornings whenever I can. It's like 6 a.m. or whatever.
Not the 50 meter though, the 20.
50 meter, yeah, like the big pool's open.
50 meter.
So that's the problem. I've been wanting to swim at Pan Am Pool, but it says on the website that it's 9 a.m. that it opens on Friday. You're saying it opens at 6?
Oh, I think it opens at 5.
Yeah. So that would be perfect for me because that's the reason I have it. I need the 50 meter. I'm really good at pushing off the walls. That's probably my best skill.
Cheater laps.
Yeah.
Cheater laps. Yeah. Yeah.
In my pool, in my backyard, it's even more cheater laps. It's 10 meters.
Yeah.
So you're in 3 days a week? Wow.
I was trying to. I mean, some days I couldn't. I had to miss or whatever for whatever reason, but I tried to get out there because like that coach was telling me for that Ironman for that 70.3 to get in the water 3 or 4 times a week. So I kind of took that to heart and was like, because like the swimming thing is just, man,
Tell us.
I just
Tell us how you feel about swimming.
I just don't get it. Like,
yeah,
I feel like the harder I swim, like my pace is the same. It doesn't matter how hard I swim, the pace is the same.
Yeah, you sound like all the triathletes I know.
Yeah,
you did a 38-minute swim though in your half Ironman.
Yeah,
that's like a great time.
I'm proud of myself for that because, like, I think like everybody when they first start with triathlon, they're like, you know, I had a couple weird panic moments in Birds Hill and in St. Malo, like
am I gonna drown?
Yeah, just like some weird like small town thoughts, you know, like just like putting an imaginary like ceiling on yourself. Like it's just so weird. Yeah, like am I gonna drown? Like, just what am I doing here? Like, let these people go, I'll stay behind. And like it doesn't last long, but like it's just so weird. And I just feel like the more you're in the water, the more comfortable you get, and the more races you do.
So Simo, for me, like of all the triathlons I've done, I've only done one race where I haven't had these thoughts. Like, so that was Hecla last year. But even Hecla this year, I was like, I'm really not into this right now. Is what it was. I was like, I'm just gonna relax here for a while. But
when you were talking just now, Simo, I had a shiver down my spine as I thought of how I felt during all the times where I had my panic moments and my anxiety moments and in the water and just like, why am I here? I don't belong here. I'll just let exact same thoughts. Exact same thoughts. I'm glad you're sharing.
So for the Calgary Ironman, I switched my mindset. I'm like, this swim, I'm going to enjoy this one. Like, get me in that water. This is going to be awesome. because I do like being in the water. So I'm like, what's the problem here? And you know how to swim? Like, what's the big deal? Just go and enjoy it. So we get there, and then there's a 15-minute delay. I'm like chomping at the bit, and then they're like, "Oh, it's gonna start at 7:15 now," and because like traffic and this and that. So I was like, "Oh man, I gotta get in there." So, anyways, like my mentality it was just so much different for this one. I'm really proud that I kind of got over that, because it's kind of, I just don't like how that feeling hits you and you can't really control it until you kind of like make it go away somehow.
And
but
once you're past it though, and you're like
it's
into
all
your
good.
strokes, you know, okay, I got an hour of this or 40 minutes for the half, whatever. This will be fine. I can get through this.
Yeah. And like, obviously we're running out of time here, and I haven't even asked you guys about your first Ironmans. I'd love to hear more about that too.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. Charlie's
Yeah.
got to run here. We're coming up on the hour. I didn't know what we talk about. I kind of wanted to ask you about your race, but
Yeah.
we'll pick a time, maybe same time next week or something, and we'll record if you got time, Charlie and Chris, or I'll arrange it by email. But we'll record another episode and we'll continue the discussion. You could ask us about our Ironmans.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how shitty of a biker I am and how proud I am of my runs, and Charlie will tell you the opposite. And then we can ask you about yours, because we're really more interested in yours.
That'd be great. I'm very curious to hear how you guys went too. Like I have a few questions about how that all went. So I mean, 3 Ironmans in one summer or whatever it was, like that's
yeah, that was crazy.
I got so much respect for all that. So yeah, definitely would love to hear more.
I'm so excited about this build for Chicago now, because like last year.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that stuff too.
Yeah. We'll talk about that stuff too. Last thing before I go, did you see these runners? The 400-meter finalists today. The guys are wearing safety pins on their bibs on their track outfits.
That's how you stay fast. That's how you stay fast.
Can't they print them on their outfits? Like, this is the Olympics. They're treating this like it's the Gimli 10-mile run here on the weekend, or the Kleefeld Honey 5K. Like, I can't believe why they don't just print them on their outfits. But you'll tell me I'm an idiot, Charlie.
Check out the men's finals for the pole vault. Check out a replay. The guy did the world record. It was amazing.
Oh, you're not talking about the guy who the crotch or whatever?
I don't know. He did a world record.
Oh, the guy cleared it and his crotch caught on the bar. Didn't you see that? It went viral.
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay. All right, we got to go. Charlie's got another meeting. So thank you, guys. We'll do another episode with Simo. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And Simo, we will bring you on again. You're a friend of the show, just like Tyler Mislachuk, who did awesome last week. Thanks, guys. We will see you. Don't go anywhere, Simo. We'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.